the Magic Academy where everyone thinks close combat spells are useless compared to long-range ones. The school's golden boy chooses the very worst option, shocking his teacher who screams at him for wasting his talent, while Setsuna ignores the noise, seals his choice with a burning crest, and walks past the whispers calling him a loser only to find a group of arrogant long-range mages bullying a red-headed girl, which makes him blur into action. Dodge their fireballs with impossible speed, slice one spell in half, and freeze the crowd with a brutal reality check. They've never seen anyone cast pure magic before, so Setsuna calmly teaches the girl that true skill crushes weak tricks, but the bullies are too blinded by their own egos to see the difference. They aren't quitting, so the ringleader charges up a giant, unstable fireball to blow up the whole hallway, but Setsuna flashes forward and silences him with a single neck chop before the terrified seniors cough up the stolen brooch and drag their unconscious boss away in shame. So, how does this rookie pull off such an overpowered twist? He wasn't always a close-range mage. In his past life, he was the supreme long-distance sorcerer who led the elite forces against the death god Vidrak, slaughtering monster hordes until they finally faced Vidrak themselves, only to find their spells useless as they couldn't even scratch his armor no matter how hard they fought. It was a massacre where his entire squad vanished, but Setsuna managed to chip away at the death god's health in one final, desperate strike, realizing right before he died that only a physical blow could truly kill a god. His mind wanders back to a quiet tea moment with the old headmaster, who took off his gloves to reveal two forbidden magic crests that left Setsuna completely stunned. Magic rules say a wizard should only master one magic, but the headmaster's mark on his right hand clearly shouted summoning. But the cryptic mark on his left hand, a power I'd never read about in any book, was his when I finally mustered the courage to ask, only for him to cut me off and say the truth would wait until the right time. A quiet nod showing he trusted me with his life, until tragedy struck before I could get my answers. The Grim Reaper himself came down to kill the headmaster, so scared of that old man's power that he did it personally. But now I have a chance to crack his double magic and save this world from its doom. Suddenly snapping back to reality, Isla drags me toward a grim-looking building where she announces we've arrived. Yet my mind races with the urgent need to make a loud magical splash to impress the new leaders before an instructor blocks our path and berates us for being late. Only to get even worse when he spots Isla, shuts down her plea, mocks my fall from grace, and declares that I am now just trash in the melee magic division, a dumping ground for rejects, until Setsuna finally steps in to defend us. He flicks the instructor's hand away like swatting a fly, mutters that this lecture burns oxygen for nothing, and calls out the hypocrisy of teaching a subject you hate. The teacher snaps back, yanking Setsuna by the collar until his veins pop and demanding respect, but our boy stays icy cool and stares him down, declaring that melee magic is a goldmine of power and that is exactly why he is here, which makes the teacher scoff at the audacity and sneer a challenge to prove it by blasting a massive boulder in the training yard where students are already frantically failing, like one kid who throws everything he has at a rock and bounces off without even a scratch. The gun's kick almost knocks him out, while the instructor screams at the class to dig deep for this first test, calling them maggots. A fist-sized crystal hides in the stone, and you must dig it out without breaking it or facing a fate worse than death, while the clock runs down, and no one else has even started. Complaints fly through the air as someone shouts that this concrete wall cannot be broken, while another argues it's crazy to expect everyone to be a master on their very first day. Rumors swirl that the teacher is just taking out his frustration over being passed for a promotion. So he drags Setsuna to the biggest boulder on the field and gives him only 10 minutes to prove he's a prodigy. A challenge made even harder by the teacher's sadistic grin and Isla's gasp of horror at the impossible task. But Setsuna stands his ground and boldly demands exactly 10 minutes, promising to finish in just 10 seconds. Isla panics and begs him not to challenge the guy, but the instructor just smirks at the kid's wild idea, convinced rock is heavier than steel even after he dragged the boulder here himself. So when the hero stands his ground with only 10 seconds left, he gathers all his strength. A weapon suddenly appears in his hand, and he realizes that to be the top of his class, he must completely rule over it. He swings without a second thought, refusing to waste time playing with small fry, leaving only a moment of silence in the air. Nothing happens, but just as the instructor opens his mouth to roast him, the boulder explodes into rubble and Setsuna casually pulls the purple crystal from the dust, hands it over and says, "Told you?" leaving the teacher stunned, Isla wide-eyed, and the whole class in dead silence. You can practically hear the crowd whispering, "Is this new kid stronger than the teacher?" The instructor snaps out of his daze, desperate to save face by claiming the student used a cheat, insisting that breaking such a hard rock that quickly is impossible without foul play. But Setsuna delivers the final blow by telling him that if it takes 10 minutes to crack a small pebble, maybe he should grab a desk and join the class instead, and those words hit a nerve. Instructor Zachary turns red with rage, ready to throw a punch, but another figure steps in to stop him. Lionel grabs the bald instructor by his shiny dome, scolding him for being a bully, and shuts down the cheating accusations immediately, explaining that Setsuna didn't cheat because he simply read the rock's inner flow and found its weak spot to shatter its defense instantly. Then he turns on Zachary, roasting him for being completely clueless about the basics. Spinning toward the class, Lionel steps up to the crowd, sheds his title of head instructor, and welcomes everyone to the Thunderdome fresh meat, skipping straight to the point that they need to pick a representative for the contest because this isn't just a boring quiz bowl. An all-out war is raging between 8 magic departments for bragging rights, with only the strongest champion surviving their deadly tournament. And as Setsuna flashes back to his past victory representing the ranged squad, his eyes light up with the chance to reclaim that glory, only to have his gaze drawn to a massive shattered rock as his instructor reveals a new monster in the class who smashed through stone with bare fists before Setsuna even arrived, sparking a tense confrontation with Drago Oakrid, a hulking brute who mocks Setsuna's lean frame while demanding to know why an academy prodigy is wasting time in the melee department. With twig-like arms and a grin full of confidence, Drago proves his legendary family magic and 17 years of gym work by punching the air so hard that a shockwave suffocates everyone, then taps Setsuna's nose to dare him to a duel in 1 week, leaving the room buzzing with whispers as Ayla nervously approaches Setsuna. "Are you sure about this? That guy looks crazy." But Setsuna stays true to himself and shakes his head, admitting he'd be crushed right now without his secret cheat code before he dashes off, leaving Ayla confused until she decides to follow him into the deep forest, where they soon face a massive tree. Setsuna presses his hand against the rough bark and declares it the perfect spot, explaining that training here in his special time chamber triples his progress because this ancient tree has stood strong for thousands of years. Suddenly, a bright green glow wraps around Setsuna like a second skin, signaling that the tree has finally accepted him, and Ayla stares in shock as he explains this rare VIP buff that lets him recover mana instantly and push his body to the absolute limit for infinite stamina, while the anxious Ayla decides to make up for her brother's debt by spying on Drago, who is found in the training hall effortlessly lifting impossible weights and joking with Headmaster Lionel about his strange habit of smashing the school's entire rock stockpile. He's wearing heavy weights to test his strength, which scares Ayla so much she runs off to warn Setsuna, while our hero calmly reads a book under a tree, saying that reading is his real training and explaining how he uses magic to make his legs super fast and his fists super strong. With his mind supercharged, he tosses the book aside to test his new skills by splitting a falling leaf with a snap kick and slicing others into pieces with an invisible blade, only to suddenly feel agonizing pain as he intentionally tears his muscles to rebuild them faster and stronger, all while telling his shocked companion that this painful cycle is the only way to catch up to his rival in just 7 days, a relentless grind born from his past struggles that he is now forcing her to witness. They say he's a genius, but he's just beating everyone by working harder, even doing heavy push-ups now. And finally the wait is over as the crowd goes wild when he steps out to fight Drago, who is shocked the kid didn't quit and runs away while our hero stands tall to win the title and the headmaster gives the signal to start the fight. Setsuna rushes forward and lands a hard punch that knocks Drago back despite his defense, revealing a magical shield that made the hit so strong it shook the air. But as the dust settles, our hero has already dodged the deadly counter while the students cheer wildly, realizing these 2 new students have only just finished their final choice. Frustrated by hitting only air, the huge giant pours out a wild storm of attacks, but the hero moves through them like a stream, which just makes the giant even angrier as he roars at the hero for wasting his time and laughs at how small he looks, while a redhead girl in the crowd bites her lip in fear that the hero's week of hard training isn't enough to stop this monster, and the teacher watches and sees that on paper the hero is in trouble, but the giant kicks hard and the hero blocks it again, and the coach realizes the hero is using tiny, perfect moves to stop the giant's heavy hits, until the giant snaps and screams that people like him are always disrespected because his family has been treated badly for generations just for using melee magic. Then a red blade appears in the giant's hand as he vows to crush the hero, but the hero calmly summons his own sword to match him, and without waiting they crash into each but nah, they need to aim higher than petty grudges. Drago looks shook, completely confused, like he can't process the level up. In a split second, our boy lands a surgical strike that shatters Drago's monoblade into dust. He freezes, buffering for a sec, but snaps back, popping a physical boost buff and swinging back with way more juice. The hero shifts gears, speeding up to match the heat. Red Hair notices the damage stacking up. Setsuna is finally chipping away at the tank's HP. Even the teacher is glued to the action, thinking Drago is actually putting up a solid fight. But Setsuna, his mana control and physical buffs are looking absolutely god tier right now. Our boy is fully locked in. He knows Drago's defense is a wall and to break it, he needs just one opening. He rushes in and the big guy manifests a fresh sword fueled by pure adrenaline and takes a massive swing. Setsuna the fist hits only empty air, leaving a ghost behind while the real Setsuna soars upward to dodge the opponent instantly with no delay before diving in at breakneck speed. As the tank powers up again, Setsuna calls time on the fight and lands a crushing final slash that leaves the entire arena silent, with Teach wondering if he just scored a critical hit. Both fighters displayed insane skills, but the hero clearly won, leaving Drago knocked out on the ground while Isla celebrates wildly until a shocking twist occurs as the tank slowly crawls back to his feet to the crowd's wild cheers. Amazed that he's still standing after such a brutal blow, the tough guy is built differently, but instead of staying calm, he is furious that Setsuna held back just enough to avoid killing him. Realizing the hero offered a hand to help him up, a salty Drago demands to know the reason behind it, but after a moment of silence, Setsuna drops a powerful truth. He will never lose again and will keep getting stronger forever. A statement that finally makes Drago smile and understand why this kid is so strong. Drago accepts defeat with honor, praising the hero as a worthy rival and a future ally against the Death God. While Teach, impressed by the hero's courage to face the tank directly, officially declares the new leader of the Melee Magic team. Days later, as Lionel leads the hero to meet the other department reps, he warns him to keep things calm before opening the door where 7 representatives are already relaxing, including a glasses-wearing kid who immediately mocks the Melee team for showing up. The hero recognizes him as Noel from the Enhancement Magic Department, who aggressively pushes the hero down while trash-talking their upcoming match and claiming the Melee team hasn't won in a century. But the hero remains unfazed and simply pushes back. Despite Noel getting frustrated and the hero staying cool, the headmaster arrives to praise their intense rivalry while warning them to save their energy for the arena, only for the hero to freeze in shock when he sees the headmaster hasn't aged a day and looks exactly like he had already claimed his spot back then. But resting on her skills now would be a rookie mistake, so the headmaster kicks things off by congratulating everyone on becoming department reps and hyping up this room filled with the Academy's elite talent before revealing that the matchups are completely random and the contest will be a one-on-one tournament. The first fight pits Melee Magic against Enhancement Magic, then Healing Magic faces Ranged Magic, followed by Formation Magic versus Summoning Magic, and the final showdown is between Regular Magic and Alchemical Magic. He calls it the ultimate crash course to fight rival skills, with 10 days of practice and rest in between, and he grins at the thought of the students' big reveal as they bow together. With the meeting ending, Setsuna grabs his one last chance to talk to the boss, asking if he could trade his sword skills for the headmaster's hidden magic secrets after the old man dismisses the idea as impossible. The room's mood changes instantly as the headmaster explodes with anger, screaming about how a random student found secrets about his private studies. But our hero stands firm because he needs to beat the Death God, admits he can't tell the whole story yet, argues that winning a 100-year-old tournament would change everything so much that a little tutoring is worth it, gets the headmaster to agree to teach him if he actually wins after seeing no bad intent, bows respectfully, and is told the road ahead will be brutal while he firmly promises to dominate the tournament. The headmaster walks away, leaving our boy to spend the evening eating outside while thinking back on 10 years at the academy. He's been bored stiff with nothing to do, yet with just 10 days left until the competition, he's locked onto the goal like a laser, until a sudden voice cuts the silence and a stone fist punches out of nowhere, reminding him not to worry about his prep. Setsuna blocks the sudden strike with his arm, jumps back to get ready, and spots a golem while the nerd emerges from the dark. Salty realizes he's in No's blind spot because the hero instantly knows No used his power to turn life into stone. He's trying to guess the guy's plan, but the nerd makes it clear he wants a fight right now, has called some golems to attack from the side, and is demanding revenge for the earlier shame. With a cold stare, our boy tells him, "You brought this on yourself." But as the academy bell rings, Null freezes in place to save his reputation from looking bad in front of the crowd. The next day, head instructor Lionel gathers the Melee crew for film study, where they dissect Drago and Setsuna's last brawl, admit their own weaknesses in mana control and low stats, and get coached on how to handle a tough new boss fight against a swarm of golems by focusing on speed and defense. He has to master the counterattack as the tanky student squares up, declaring he's built different this time while our boy smirks unfazed. Drago rushes in but the hero weaves past the strike, and even when Setsuna tries to flank, his partner catches him with a surprise offhand strike that reveals his reaction time is lagging, much to the instructor's delight, who praises how the big guy is finally balancing his speed and power, prompting Bro to go full heavyweight champ mode and wind up a massive left hook that the hero easily reads and dodges, earning more praise from the teach who shouts for him to add some footwork, so Setsuna nods, slides out of range, and snaps back with a counter before the scene cuts to later with both of them sprawled on the floor absolutely gassed as the instructor nods at their progress, predicting they'll be dismantling golems like it's nothing in just a couple of days while Lionel tosses them hydration, and with the hero and the nerd locked in for a fight, the announcer opens the betting lines as the crowd backs the smart choice, even though the bully who was humbled earlier bets on the hero, while the ranged expert doctor enters knowing whoever survives this round will face him next, only for the announcer to reveal the twist that the map has been randomly chosen as a desert, prompting the nerd to gloat that his luck has finally run out just as the stands trash talk and Isla snaps at them to shut up before promising to prove the melee team isn't trash, and with the signal dropping, the fight begins with the nerd grabbing a rock to quiz the hero on its identity, leading to the reveal that mixing that rock with sand creates an instant rock golem immune to basic blade attacks after the hero scatters a pouch of the ingredient like confetti. Spawning a whole army, he dares Setsuna to survive the onslaught, causing Layla to gasp in shock at the endless horde, while the crowd roasts the hero as a snooze fest. Noelle freezes in shock at the disrespect before shouting for the golems to charge, and as they rush forward, a giant dust storm erupts, leaving everyone blind and confused while the nerd grins, saying that's what happens when you poke a bear. As the swirling sand blinds everyone, the hero steps into the smoke and cuts through the golems with perfect ease, casually noting he solved this puzzle long ago, leaving the stunned crowd in silence. Even the four eyes are frozen in shock, so he panics and summons a fresh wave of clumsy golems to crush the hero, but Setsuna stands ice-cold and charges straight at him, knowing that once he gets close, the battle is already won with his unstoppable melee magic that tears through the stone soldiers like wet paper, leaving Noelle screaming in defeat as his last-ditch army summoning comes too late. Setsuna is right in your face and about to land a massive blow that knocks the mage backward like a rag doll. The crowd gasped, completely blind as massive dust clouds swallowed the stage, leaving total darkness. As the debris clears and jaws drop to see Setsuna standing alone, the announcer declares him the undisputed winner without a second's hesitation. While Setsuna thinks the first round was too easy and Isla cheers him on from the stands, the student body whispers that it was just luck or that his opponent ran out of energy. But the head of the ranged magic department sees right through it and knows that Setsuna simply outclassed his foe with superior skill. The student next to him notes that the upcoming fight with the melee expert is now even more intense, so he decides he needs a backup plan, and soon the arena transforms into a dense forest for the next match, where Setsuna accepts praise from Isla before agreeing to stay to scout the competition, knowing that gathering intel is essential for survival. Right now, the girl with animal ears is crushing her opponent, and Setsuna is watching closely, noting that even though the other fighter is in trouble, their smooth footwork is something he could copy to make his own close-up fighting better. Isla says the flashy spells look great, but she's determined to master hand-to-hand combat, which makes Setsuna wonder why she'd choose melee when she has so much magic power. So she learns that a terrifying bear once attacked her and her little brother while they were playing, and though they thought they were doomed, a fierce melee mage appeared to save them. That was the moment she promised to become as strong as him to protect everyone. And though she blushed admitting it sounded silly, Setsuna instantly shut down her doubts, proving there was nothing childish about her conviction. With a clear goal acting as their superpower, Leo walks down the stairs and is instantly recognized by Setsuna, the top-ranged mage who sees him as his only real rival. So Leo gives him a nod of respect for his strength, but then smirks as he looks at Isla. So, is this pretty lady your girlfriend? Setsuna blinks in total confusion, while Isla turns red and quickly denies it, insisting that nothing like that is going on. After she stands up to bail and suggests the friends chill and watch the rest of the fights together before leaving, Setsuna immediately gets back to business. Leo isn't the representative because Octar, a sneaky cheat who tricked Leo out of his spot, is the ruthless kind who plays dirty to win and is now grinning wickedly over a box of flowers while Setsuna realizes he has to watch his back. Back at the arena, the announcer shouts that round 2 has begun with a grudge match pitting ranged magic against melee magic, turning the stage into a deadly sea of lava where one slip means agonizing burns, leaving Drago and his instructor worried, while Octar gloats to his mentor and Silas sneers at the hero for making such a foolish choice. Octar keeps his cool, though he worries silently that he might not even reach the starting line when the announcer calls for the fighters to take their spots, and the stage remains empty because Setsuna is nowhere to be seen, meaning if the boy doesn't show up in 5 minutes, the match is over. With ranged magic winning by default and Lionel and Drago losing their minds in the stands, the scene jumps back 10 minutes to the waiting room where Isla is banging on the door to check on the champion before his big moment. He says he's cool, but he suddenly points to the harmless-looking vase in the corner, revealing it's actually a hidden surprise, not just decoration. Isla is horrified to find a mana-draining trap set on a hair trigger in a waiting room, and realizing someone wants him drained dry before the fight. She notes this is their 7th assassination attempt. She panics and checks for injuries, but he waves it off, knowing the ranged magic rep is pulling the strings on this ghost with zero evidence left behind, until 3 adorable kids waltz in with a massive flower bouquet for Isla to pass to the hero, only for one of them to suddenly start swaying, hit the deck and drop the bouquet while revealing grim markings on his neck that trigger Isla's scream and Setsuna's reflexes as he punts the flowers across the room. He shouts the harsh truth that isn't a gift but a deadly poison, because the kids already look broken, the clock is running out on their lives, our boy is furious, and some scumbags will cross any line to win a trophy, turning innocent lives into collateral damage in a sick game. If they aren't treated right now, They won't make it, but regular medicine won't work because they need a specialist to fight this specific toxin, which sends Isla into a panic and forces her to ask if they are actually dying, only for him to bluntly confirm it while warning that the contact spreads the poison so anyone nearby is next. Yet Isla refuses to back down and instead pulls out a brooch to prove her plan works, causing Satsuna to instantly recognize the item. Isla reveals the glowing artifact is a mana battery filled with healing spells her mother packed for emergencies. And as she works, the dark marks on the boy's skin begin to vanish, while his bravery gives our hero the go-ahead to take the bouquet and flee, knowing that when those flowers bloom they release a deadly venom cloud that could wipe out the crowd, so he desperately throws the burning bundle toward the world tree to sacrifice it and save everyone. But even as the poison fades and strength returns, the stands erupt in anger, believing he ran out of fear, and the referee checks his watch ready to declare actor the winner by default. Boom! Our boy crashes the party and shouts, "Don't call it yet, we're just getting started." While the ranged magic rep grins like a predator, unbothered by Satsuna's arrival and even joking about his gift trap, only for Satsuna to call out the villain's low move of poisoning kids to rig a match, which the purple-haired psycho dismisses as trivial fuel for his rage before Satsuna snaps, fires back with a storm bullet barrage, and weaves through the chaos while secretly fighting with the parking brake on because the world tree couldn't fully scrub the lingering toxin that is throttling his power. Actor throws down another combo, but Satsuna slips away by the skin of his teeth while the psycho opponent cackles and mocks him as a coward who only knows how to run, even as the corrupt instructor grins with the false confidence that he's made victory certain. All while Satsuna ignores the fight to scan the arena desperately for Isla. While he worries about the missing kids, Actor starts chirping and mocking him for zoning out and looking totally drained. The peanut gallery jumps in to roast him, saying that melee fighters are trash against a ranged build. The ranged rep decides to stop talking and start shooting, aiming to end the match right then and there. Satsuna braces for the hit and throws up his monoguard to take the damage, but it cracks instantly. The shield shatters in a flash, and our hero takes massive damage, leaving him bloody and exposed. The villain cackles, calling the whole display pathetic. As Satsuna pushes himself up and wonders why Actor is taking his time, since normal mages usually rush to finish off a wounded enemy, he realizes this guy is just treating him like a toy and flashes a grin like a crazy person who's impressed by the struggle. He notices the hero is still studying his moves even while getting crushed, points a finger at Satsuna to check his surroundings, and the boy suddenly realizes he's trapped on a tiny island surrounded by a ring of lava while the bully in the stands sweats bullets over his losing bet as the ranged rep flashes a creepy smile and talks about perfection. With a massive beam of magic screaming toward him, our hero slices it in half and blasts it right back, only to find the arena floor crumbling and sending both fighters sliding toward the dangerous lava pit below. Suddenly, the beast girl Carol swoops in with her massive wolf, Fenrir, snatching them from the air to safety as the crowd cheers wildly, and after Carol flashes a cool smile to check if Satsuna is okay with the help, he thanks her while secretly thinking she's a total powerhouse and a serious championship threat. He knows the coming fight will be brutal and that he must be ready, while the haters in the crowd finally stop doubting him and admit his first win wasn't luck, proving the kid is the real deal. Even the headmaster grins beneath his giant beard, while the ranged instructor seethes with rage at Actor, vowing revenge like a sore loser, only for the team to cheer Satsuna on before he turns his attention solely to the girl who assures him the kids are safe and healing in the infirmary. After the update finally brings him peace from his safety fears, a sudden burst of pure evil hits him, causing him to spin around only to have the attacker vanish. Though Isla notices his flinch, he brushes it off as fine while secretly fearing the taste of blood magic in his mind. So by evening he practices alone at the forest boulders with only a week left until the final showdown, thinking about the creepy spell he sensed at the tournament and needing to get stronger fast, until Lionel arrives confused at the remote spot and Satsuna cuts straight to the point, revealing that Lionel needs to teach him a specific spell. That nickname hits Lionel like a truck, freezing him as he admits he hasn't heard anyone use it in ages before questioning how a student found out. While Satsuna recalls the war stories of a legendary mage who one-shot a dragon, and is now convinced the department head is that same myth, leading to a respectful bow from their boy begging to learn the magic while Lionel tries to deflect but gets stopped in his tracks by the hero calling him the strongest brawler mage he's ever seen, which prompts Lionel to grin at the wild card and agree to train him with a warning that this isn't for just any student. As Lionel gathers magic in his hand until the air crackles with terrifying power, the instructor reveals that this devastating comet fist has only ever been used twice because it burns through energy so fast. Yet it ends a fight with a single, earth-shattering punch that wipes out the entire zone. Satsuna stares in shock at the display of godlike control needed to compress an ocean of magic into a tiny point, refusing to quit despite the danger, which convinces the instructor to train him. While over at Carol's table, she calmly accepts a challenge about facing a top fighter, only to be caught off guard when a man suddenly activates a cursed seal on her neck, just as she turns away. smugly noting that her victory against Setsuna would have been the best possible outcome. If the script falls apart, he'll kill both of them with his own hands while our boy struggles with doubt, leaving the instructor completely stunned. When Setsuna Master tricks a technique in just 1 week, Lionel is shocked since he thought it would take years, and after he officially finishes the Comet Fist, the finals arrive with the stadium packed to the rafters as the host screams about Elmage Academy's 781st showdown, starting with Kael, the Beast Girl summoner who has never lost, facing off against Setsuna, the melee magic hero who broke the internet, leaving the crowd divided as one guy bets everything on Kael's perfect streak while a girl backs Setsuna, and our trio of friends roars their support for the hero, setting the stage at the goddess ruins where a mage raises a thick force field and Isla sits with Lionel hoping for a clean fight, while the instructor thinks hard about a secret deal to unlock a second magic class. Kael watches the hero lock in ready for war and plans to unleash her Fenrir beast to go all out, so when the bell rings she summons her beast and jumps tapping into Fenrir's power to flash freeze the stage itself. Our boy is floored as the entire arena turns into a sheet of ice. He realizes the mana-infused chill acts like a force field he can't cross. Watching from the shadows, that same shady guy notes that Fenrir is about to go beast mode, wondering how the hero plans to survive this one. Our boy knows basic attacks won't scratch this thing and every second the clock ticks. His odds of winning drop. With that in mind, he improvises using the debris on the ground as parkour stones, betting it all on his Comet Fist. He manifests a blade of pure energy, bracing himself as Fenrir crashes into his cover. Up in the stands, the haters in the crowd start doubting the hero again, claiming he's totally outclassed by a summoner. This time, even the instructor is sweating bullets. The redhead spots his panic and asks for the tea. He waves it off while secretly calculating the deadly cost of charged bullets, knowing they drain mana so fast it's basically suicide, but his god-level control lets him gamble everything to squeeze that power into his fist just as Kael realizes she has no idea what he's doing and rushes to finish the fight. She calls forth the Sky Terror Garuda right beside Fenrir, leaving Drago speechless and having Lionel admit she's got next-level talent. But when both monsters charge her squad in a pincer attack, she catches them both with her bare hands and shoves them back. As the hero shoots the furry girl, she screams in agony while a mysterious student snaps his fingers, causing dark energy to explode from her and summon shadow monsters that charge at the hero, forcing him to flee in horror as Lionel shouts to stop the match and reveal that the trap requires the formation mage to be destroyed before the wall can fall. With bad news that a mage is already held hostage and monsters swarming, Setsuna guesses the puppet master must be nearby, but a mysterious man mocks his efforts while a giant bird suddenly attacks, slamming him with a pole and throwing him back. Isla watches in horror as the hero struggles to rise while the villain smirks, knowing Setsuna will miss him in the crowd because she is too weak. But Lionel feels the air change and knows the situation is now critical. With no time to reload and Kael fading fast, the hero pushes through swatting monsters and flinging a horned beast aside while a terrified headmaster watches from the stairs, only for a jagged nightmare beast to slash his leg and trigger a final swarm that leaves him screaming in agony until Lionel's voice cuts through the pain to remind him to tank the hits and dodge the strikes. Stay tight and close because he needs to lock on perfectly for that one killing shot, and just as the shadow guy freezes thinking Setsuna's arm is worthless, Setsuna snaps back to reality, realizing his dangerous defense worked, and wonders if the kid let himself get bitten just to tap into his mana. Setsuna realizes the bloodthirsty beasts have locked onto him as easy food, so he channels all his magic into one crushing punch that shreds through the crowd, knocks the beast girl unconscious, and secures a historic victory that sends the entire stadium into a wild frenzy, while a shadowy enemy watches in fear before sensing a sudden threat rise behind him. A strange feeling tells him someone is tracking the mage's magic, so he quickly draws a glowing symbol on the mage's back to mark him. Lionel rushes to the noise, arrives just too late to find the mage unconscious on the floor, and worries he missed something. While back in the arena the barrier fades and the headmaster floats down to admit his beast summoning drained him, though Setsuna insists he was being controlled, prompting him to agree to a dark artifact is involved before he promises to handle it. Heals Kael with green light, praises the boy for proving his strength, and tells Setsuna to meet him later before vanishing, leaving Setsuna to limp to the infirmary where the healer wraps him up like a mummy and warns that his wounds are bad and he isn't at full strength yet. She orders bed rest, but Setsuna's attempt to relax is quickly ruined when the whole squad, Lionel, Isla, Drago, and the kids, crashes through the door to check on him, only for Isla to rush forward and find him joking around with his arm still attached after all. Now that you've become a master of melee magic, the kids are running wild copying your moves before the party leaves, leaving just the teacher and student as Lionel's face turns serious to tell you that the formation mage is awake and stable, though Kael is still weak but out of danger, and once she wakes up, you'll finally learn who was trying to kill Setsuna because this wasn't an accident. So who do you think did it? Lionel asks. Then the scene shifts to the dark where a shadowy figure sneaks toward a guarded room, shatters the magical lock like glass to find Kael helpless in bed, plans to carry her out first before taking on Setsuna. but his deadly spell is blocked midair by Clangablade as Setsuna steps out from the shadows. I felt the rat would come back to finish the job, but my heart sank when I saw my best friend Leo smirking in the moonlight, unbothered, and caught me red-handed. Leo's heart races as he steps back from prying eyes, knowing his injuries are far from healed, and that fighting like this could be a disaster. He catches Setsuna grimacing and tells him to relax, then demands to know when he started suspecting something. Setsuna explains that the first warning sign was Leo vanishing right after the selection ritual, and it was strange that Leo wasn't even chosen as the ranged magic specialist. But the real shock came later that night when Leo felt a familiar, chilling aura that was exactly the same as the one he encountered during the intramural finals. Suspicion confirmed. He felt the death gods rot inside Leo, catching his fake friend off guard and prompting him to ask if Setsuna really dropped that name, only for sinister red marks to crawl across the traitor's face as he flashed a wicked grin and grilled the hero on what he knew, instantly spiking the magic density and revealing Leo as a full servant who had to be killed right then and there, causing the traitor to toss their friendship aside like trash and plan to toy with the hero, before ending his life without a single second of hesitation, forcing our boy to summon a mana sword and charge in for the kill. A terrible mistake since his friend just disintegrated the blade with a casual wave. The moment feels just as terrifying as that past nightmare. With Leo brags he has earned the death god's trust and unlocked a powerful disintegration spell that can't be stopped by any attack. Still refusing to give up, Setsuna spots that Leo only breaks apart the moment of impact, so he tries to sneak behind for a surprise hit, but his friend blocks it effortlessly while making fun of his lack of magic sense, then blasts him with a fireball that sends him flying backward. Setsuna admits that Leo is a real pest who survived this long just by using his bare hands, and claims that Setsuna would have been a beast if he'd actually used ranged magic, before his voice turns dark and mumbles that since Leo made his own choice, there's no going back. He then drives an electric spike into the hero's leg, causing our boy to scream in agony as his old wounds reopen, but he swallows the pain and demands to know why. The answer is chillingly simple. There's no grand plan, just a sick hatred for this world and a twisted joy in tearing down what others built, which leaves Setsuna horrified as painful memories flood just moments before they collide. A bright white flame appears out of nowhere to stop the blast, leaving the traitor visibly shaken as he realizes he recognizes that move. Suddenly, a white flame blasts toward him, and he barely manages to raise his shield just in time, only to see Headmaster Aura on the roof with his big dragon, who jumps down to tease him about being late while Leo looks on with a mix of shock as the old man reveals he's been watching him ever since sensing that bad mana, admitting he was secretly hoping this moment would happen. It wasn't one of his own students, so with a heavy heart, he charged up another massive white flame volley and offered Leo one final ultimatum. Surrender now, though judging by the boy's defiant look, he knew it would be a hard pass. The headmaster orders the dragon to unleash its fiery signature attack, and while Setsuna braced himself for the terrifying blow, his former friend stood calm as a statue, admitting that without borrowed power from the death gods, he would have been destroyed instantly. The old man realizes with shock that the boy is using a lethal spell called magic disintegration, confirming that ancient legends about a shadowy force rising to bring about the apocalypse are true. Leo taunts them by calling the headmaster by his first name and performs a rare triple-element fusion magic while floating in midair, forcing the hero to dodge a catastrophic blast that leaves the headmaster weaving through the air effortlessly. After the old man reveals he can nullify spells too, Leo smirks and summons a pitch-black aura of pure death god magic, charging an attack that could level the entire academy. The headmaster sends a swarm of glowing butterflies into the sky to distract the kid, but Leo easily swallows their white flames and SM as the dragon turns to dust. Our hero shoots through the ruins like a bullet, diving straight for Leo just as the villain laughs at his impenetrable shield, only to watch that barrier shred like wet paper and get punched right in the face, sending them both crashing down, while the hero takes a beating from the explosion's force. But as the dust settles, the headmaster realizes that even magic has limits because Setsuna's raw speed made the spell useless. And in the end, even the battered Leo grins and applauds his friend for saving the day. Our boy stands frozen in horror, confused by how he didn't explode after eating a comet fist, only to have his friend grinning with a twisted smirk declare it his turn and blast a stream of dark energy straight at him, leaving no time to dodge until Leo, who was playing four-dimensional chess, instantly shatters the hero's desperate mana sword with disintegration magic the moment it touches the blast. With no defense, a dark wave hurls him like a ragdoll, smashing him hard against the wall and leaving him broken on the floor, where his fading mind races through Leo's disappointed voice to wonder if he just mixed ranged attacks with decay magic. As his vision fades, he flashes back to days of target practice, where he teased his friend Leo for being too smart and warned him he'd be left behind if he ever slacked off, only for Leo to laugh and say it felt great to be praised by such a genius. But then his mind snaps back to the horror as Leo aims his blast right at his former best friend, asking what he means while pointing behind him to show a nightmare scene of his allies broken and being slaughtered by monsters, causing him to gasp. in disbelief as Leo sneers that he is a disgrace and a failure for abandoning them. The mean words keep spinning in his head, but Satsuna jolts awake in the hospital bed to find the redhead right there, letting out a huge sigh of relief and thinking, "Thank God you're back." He blinks, confused and feeling useless again, but when he asks about the headmaster, he ignores their pleas for him to rest and limps out the door to demand answers, only to find the old man beaming with relief to see his student back on his feet despite the chaos and added workload. "You've been through a lot, kid, and while they let the room clear so you could sit with the guilt-ridden headmaster, your body begged you to stop, but after you finally passed out, Leo admitted he just wanted to keep fighting because you were barely holding on. He ghosted the fight, banking on a future rematch being way more exciting, while the headmaster admitted he missed a golden chance but knew the nightmare behind the dimensional rift was too dangerous for them to handle. When they finally meet again, they'll have to bring their absolute best, as our hero slumps down to talk about that mysterious entity and the tear in reality, which shakes the old man enough to ask if the kid knows who it was, but before he gets an answer, the conversation shifts to how deep our hero's secrets really go, pushing him to wonder if he should spill the beans about his future origin or if the old man would even believe him, and the headmaster catches right away that our boy is hesitating. He wonders why it's so quiet until an idea sparks in his mind, leading him to ask the headmaster to check the amulet, which the old man examines until he realizes the spirit of time is gone, instantly connecting the dots that someone drained it to rewrite the past, a theory confirmed by our hero who admits he lost everything in that future timeline and used the amulet to jump a decade back, explaining the terrifying story of the death god, the apocalypse, and how the headmaster was taken by cultists, a tale the old man accepts as true because the cold, empty amulet proves it, and after the old man puts a reassuring hand on Setsuna's shoulder and promises to always have his back, the heavy tension melts into relief as he finally sees a way to win, perhaps even canceling Doomsday, before the headmaster reveals he's teaching him a special type of elemental magic that syncs mana with spirits to turn the user into a power generator. The headmaster skips the lecture to jump straight into the demo, his eyes flaring with blinding light that reminds our boy of the Leo brawl. But then the twist arrives. They play rock, paper, scissors. Our boy is completely lost and can't even duel because he's too hurt. So the headmaster shrugs and explains that his crazy plan is just a way to kill time as they start playing, where the headmaster wins every single round while mocking him and taunting him to try again, leading to loss after loss until our boy finally rage quits and demands to know what the trick is, prompting the headmaster to reveal with a smirk that it's the spirit of time which lets you see seconds into the future. These spirits are everywhere in nature, and signing a contract with one gives you special powers like wind for flying or water for perfect dodging, which leaves Setsuna amazed at the limitless potential and how it would upgrade his fighting style. But there's a catch because he can't practice until he locks a contract, so the master tells him to try merging his aura with the wild like a real spirit, but when our boy tries to mimic that flow by closing his eyes, anxiety begins to creep in. But the old master cuts it off cold, telling him that his feelings are his enemy right now, and that to truly sync with nature, he must become a blank slate with no thoughts or vibes, just total emptiness. So our boy takes a sharp breath and dives back in, even though the fear of failure weighs heavily on his mind. The headmaster sees the struggle and orders a shutdown, even as the old man reveals it took him 3 years to master this power, noting that while the death god won't arrive for 5 years, their dangerous apostles could strike any time, and our hero realizes the Silverlock archives are right to fear these rule-breaking monsters, confirming that rushing through this training is a bad idea until he gets a brilliant idea to use a dungeon raid as the perfect high-pressure spot to push past his limits and evolve. With a runabout as tough as a nightmare, he first has to charge his batteries while an old man warns of the deadly horrors waiting inside, and Leo steps into the dark castle to apologize for being late, only to get roasted by the grumpy Zon and the creepy spider-like Puka who are thrilled about the mess Leo has made since ditching Tail. So Leo just shrugs it off as a fun meetup until Zagan snaps and demands he stop smiling, but before they clash, a mysterious voice steps in to tell them to stop acting like naughty children and remember that messing with the god's master plan is not allowed. Enter Satnakia, the second apostle who radiates such intense pressure that everyone stays silent while he suggests Zagan handle the cleanup on Leo, only for Puka to laugh and offer a bloodbath that gets shut down because the situation is already under control. A few days later, the MC is pretending to be lazy in class while Isla worries he's not healing fast enough, and Satsuma panics about the death god until being a mistake while the headmaster hunts for Leo alone. After the MC promises to rush his recovery, Instructor Lionel announces a new squad training event where students must mix classes to tackle a dangerous one-star dungeon replica that mirrors real-life threats. Participation is strictly voluntary, and since the grind starts next week, he warns everyone to save their energy until then. So our boy flashes back to the headmaster's warning about the joint training and realizes he needs to hit full recovery mode and get back to peak performance before the chaos begins. That evening, after class ends, our hero walks with a friend who urges him to eat a huge meal to recharge his magic before the tough week ahead, prompting him to think about dinner when suddenly the crowd goes wild, treating him like a legendary fighter while girls gush, and a snarky classmate mocks everyone for changing their minds so fast. Just as he tries to leave, 3 guys step in his way, led by a blonde boy who nods respectfully and reveals he is Kael, a noble mage leader planning to join the army, who invites him to an exclusive club for powerful mages, offering him a special pass just to look good to the crowd even though it's not really for fighters like him. The girls get super excited thinking their hero is being scouted, but Kael sneers at a girl named Isla, warning him that hanging out with commoners like her will ruin his social standing. Without even hesitating, our hero flatly refuses the offer, leaving the 3 after Kael spins around to leave, dropping a truth bomb about how little background matters and walking off like a boss. The noble kid fumes while his lackey complains about being spoken to like that, only for Kael to snap, whip out a chain weapon and scream about disrespecting nobility before lunging at him. Just before the hit lands, Satsuna barely turns his head to watch Isla step in, intercepting the attack and reminding the brat that unauthorized dueling breaks academy law while crushing his arm in her grip. Kael stares at her in fury that a commoner has the guts to stand up to him. His buddy rushes in to help him yank his hand free, and the trio retreats with Kael screaming that he's telling his father, leaving Isla to shoot a smile at the hero who mentally notes she's leveling up fast. Suddenly, a voice calls out from behind, and he spots Kael waving enthusiastically, beaming with thrill that he's back. Meanwhile, our boy scans the room, thinking about what the headmaster said. The furry girl has no memory of the traitor because she was shocked, but maybe his old friend messed with her mind, and even though she's safe now, he can't stop worrying someone might come back for her, until the buff guy notices him zoning out and says he overthinks too much and should just go outside to relax. But right as our boy thinks about taking that advice, a loud boom sounds like a straight-up explosion in the kitchen. Moments later, the beast girl peeks through the doorway and waves Drago over for help, but the second he steps inside, she shoves a super tight apron into his hands, leaving him staring at it like, "Do I really have to wear this?" She hits him with an apology, explaining the only spare she's got is a maid outfit, and with no other choice, they get to work whipping up a storm together until a massive feast is laid out in no time. Just as Setsuna pulls up a chair, Isla sheepishly admits they might have gone a little overboard and cooked way too much food, but he just grins and tells them it looks absolutely fire since they poured so much effort into making it for him, vowing to polish off every last bite while secretly using a special buff to stretch his stomach beforehand. And though the redhead leans and worried he's forcing himself to eat, the hero just flashes a relaxed smile and assures her he's good. He immediately pivots, asking who made the egg soup because the umami flavor is hitting different. Drago smirks, clearly hyped that his dish is a hit. He points out there's still a ton left in the pot, so he better keep eating. Hearing that our boy instantly demands a refill, the beast girl stands there totally shook, that her cooking just got outclassed by the muscle head. As everyone enjoys the banquet, our boy soaks in the vibes, thinking about how chill this feels to just hang out like this. It brings back memories of the timeline before he time traveled.